there's going to be times where you feel like you do at an amusement park. If you get on a ride and you buckle in and the ride gets started and you go, uh-oh, what did I do? But the worst thing you could possibly do is unbuckle and hop out, right? And then, depending on who you are and what the ride is, but let's say it's a fun ride, and you get off the other side and you say, you know what, that wasn't so bad. I'm kind of glad I did that. Now I hate rides. So the number of rides I say that for are few and far between. But the point is, sometimes I'll get on a ride with my kids or something like that, and I'll be like, oh no, I just wish I could get off. I'm going to be so dizzy when I get off of here. Then I get off the other side and they're laughing, and I'm like, I'm glad I did it. Worst thing you can do in a class like this is just to unbuckle in the middle and ditch. Just hang in here with us. You'll get more than you realize by just sticking through the process. All right? So this picture, maybe if you start to feel burdened one particular week that we introduce something new, and you say, we had new stuff the last 3 weeks. I can't handle one more new thing. There's always new stuff coming at you, Just remember this picture, okay? Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Greek language, and we're going to just kind of skip this for now. That's my goal. Just a little bit of history. The Greek language had many different kinds of dialects. There wasn't like one particular language that everybody said, let's all speak Greek now. They called their languages Attic and Macedonian and Doric, and you can see the Doric language kind of spread around the coasts. And Ionic was up here, and Aeolic, and Thessalian, I'm sorry. And Attic was kind of like the cultured Greek, and they had different reputations. It's kind of like Southern English and Yankee English and Pidgin English, and it's just different styles of the language. And they all had their own unique culture with them and different kinds of art and writing. Some of them tended towards high literature, and some of them were more crude. So they had different Greek existed in this way for many, many centuries. But then something happened, and I'll go back to this map. Up here in Macedonia, which was kind of a backwater town, or backwater region, eventually this area came to rule the entire known world of the Mediterranean area. And it was this particular individual right here. I don't know if you can see him. That's Alexander the Great. And he's fighting against the mighty Persian armies and winning. And Alexander took over the world. Young man, very driven man, and we still talk about him today. You go, what do I have to do to be remembered for centuries, for thousands of years? Well, there's a guy who figured that out. They still talk about Alexander the Great. And here's how far he went. Isn't that just a huge, look, here's India. He actually went into the Indus Valley. A guy from way up here in Macedonia, from the backwater, from a king that had no respect from the great Greek cultures, his son takes over all this stuff and goes all the way over to India. And they still have a word over there, Cassander, today to speak of bravery and things like that. They remember him. And so he took Greek culture with him. Now something happened, and this is something that's happened in English too. You recognize we don't speak Shakespearean English when we speak to each other, right? Thee and thou and ye and whatever. We have toned it down. We don't have verilies and woes and beholds. We say, hey, look over there. We have toned it down. And why is that? Well, the same thing that happened to Greek. When you spread to a large region, you have to accommodate the original languages of those people, and in order for them to learn it, you have to make it simple. So you're communicating on a simpler level than you originally were. And so what happened was that as Greek took over all this region, it became known that dumbed down, they would call it a vulgar language, became known as Koine. Koine means common language. It's not the highfalutin language. The Greek that we're learning is not the Greek of lawyers and senators and kings and things like that. It's the Greek of people. The people. So if you're a nobody down here in Egypt and the Greeks have blown through and you're like, I got to go with the program and learn some Greek because everybody's speaking Greek all of a sudden. The Greek you're learning is the Koine, like we're learning in this class. And like the New Testament was written in. The New Testament was not written in high and holy language. It was written in common people tongue. So that's just kind of a little bit of a background on why Greek. Now, how did it come associated, though, with Jewish scriptures and Christianity? Well, the Jews learned Greek, too. Now, everybody thinks the Jews were all speaking Hebrew all this time. No, they learned Greek as well. And so the Jews were concentrated in these areas, Egypt and the Arabian Peninsula, all up in these areas, and they spread across Asia Minor into Greece, and they were in North Africa, you know, places that are in the news right now. And the Jews learned Greek, and they translated. Dave, you remember this from Tuesday night? We were talking about this a little bit. They translated the Old Testament from Hebrew into Greek. And so here's
Septuagint, right?
The Septuagint, that's right.
I learned that.
You learned it. And it's important because it actually has implications for how you read the New Testament, because it's quoting typically not from the Hebrew, but from Greek manuscripts of the Old Testament. This is Leviticus in Greek. And so, you know, by the time you're done learning Greek, maybe you could, you know, look at this and decipher the handwriting a little bit and start to read a little bit of this, you know. And it was translated into Koine. Yeah, and it was called the Septuagint. What's a Septuagint? A septuagenarian. Did I say that right? Goodness. I do need more coffee. Septuagenarian, sorry. You all were no help. You just laughed at me. A septuagenarian, what is that? 70-year-old? Yeah? Or a 70th anniversary? Or am I close?
So why is it called the Septuagint?
There's a legend, yes. Why is it called the Septuagint? It means the 70. And there's a legend that 70 men translated it over 70 days. And so, yeah, Josephus makes much of this in his writings and things like that. And so it's called the Septuagint, or the Roman numerals for 70 are what? Anybody know? Roman numerals?
LXXX.
LXX. Yes, that's right. So it's often called the LXX. So sometimes if you're reading through a commentary or something like that, and they don't want to use all the ink to write Septuagint, which you'll know what that means now, I hope. We're not going to talk about that for a while. But, okay. But Septuagint, LXX is also another way to put that. It's less ink. That's how I'll abbreviate it if I'm writing something out real quick. And so the New Testament was written entirely in Greek. There's not a there's a couple of words that are Aramaic, but they're written in Greek letters. But you know, 99.99999999999, if there was a number higher than 9, we would use that one, is written in Greek of the New Testament. And when it quotes the Old Testament, it frequently quotes the LXX, which is what? The Septuagint. Right. Okay. Any questions on this stuff? This is all history and whatever.
Well, just looking at this picture,
Uh-huh.
I was a Methodist student. I saw the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
It was really fascinating.
Yes. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that goes on with these original manuscripts. But thankfully, we have published, like, real nice, neat handwriting. Because when you look at those manuscripts, they're kind of a mess. It really takes some work.
John,
Yes.
the men that translate, were they commissioned to do that?
That was the legend, was that the king of the Egyptian provinces
I think
commissioned
I
it.
read something about that when we were going through the New Testament
Yeah.
interval there.
Mm-hmm. There was a commission.
They had quite a school of learning in Egypt.
Alexandria, the school, the Library of Alexandria, the story is that it was commissioned for that. And for the most part, yeah, that's pretty much what happened, except for there were some miscellaneous translators out there that seemed to be working on their own. So there was a man named Aquila, and he has his own version, and so there's not really just like one Septuagint. And I've been reading up on this even since we did that class. There's a number of them, but they kind of are compiled together to be called the Septuagint.
The sad part about that scroll was there was a fire, I believe, and destroyed all those ancient books and stuff.
Somebody ransacked it, yeah. Seems to be popular activity in the old world. Ransack something and burn it with fire. So, well, with that, hopefully your brain's not tired. Is your brain tired? You good? Okay.
You just tickled it right now.
Good. Okay, good, good. All right. That's what I was hoping. So let's do some alphabet. Now, how many of you say, I kind of know the Greek alphabet? Okay. Yeah, we got some. How many say, I have no idea? Okay, good. All right, good. Well, by the end of the day, you'll know more than you know now. Okay? All right. So let's just get started. There's no graceful way to do this. This would be our A. In the Greek, it's your alpha. And you've heard of the alpha dog or the alpha male or whatever, right? It's just means the top of the heap or whatever. It's the guy or the dog that's trying to climb to the top. Alpha. And I want you to concentrate more on your lowercase letters. But what you have here is your uppercase and your lowercase letters. And uppercase, I mean, that's easy, right? It looks like an A. So you look at that and you go, ah, instinctively, or ah, or A. But the lowercase, it looks a little different. But the resemblance is very strong, I think. So that one shouldn't give you any trouble, I hope. When you look at that, you're thinking, all right, A. Now there's a couple false friends in here that look like an English letter, and they're not. So this one is it's a freebie. It's like you don't have to buy this vowel. It's free, okay? So alpha sounds like father. Say it with me, alpha. Alpha. Okay. And can we go ah? Ah. Okay, good. B is beta. Now, if you go to a Greek restaurant today, they'll say veda. So modern Greek has a number of different peculiarities. That's how they make the V sound, the B. But we don't have to worry about that. I'm just letting you know, if you go to a Greek restaurant and you try to impress them with your Greek, that's a little different, okay? But B, beta, sounds like begin. And it resembles the English B, right? Are you okay with this being B? No problems there? Okay. So
How do you pronounce it though? As a beta or beta?
Beta.
With a long name like pronounce it.
Yeah. And if I were to transcribe this into Greek letters, you'll see this is going to be the eta letter that goes in there. It's not going to be the E that we learned first. So I could show you that sometime. Yeah, but beta. And so Betamax VHS tapes, remember those? They weren't the alpha dog. They fizzled out. Beta is your second letter, second in command. B, and so let's do one more here. Who can guess at this one? Gamma. Okay, you heard of gamma rays? If you did anything in science or whatever, or if you like, there's probably levels of math I never got to that have things that look like this on it. You know, gamma. Well, I think that the lowercase looks something like the cursive G. Now, some people think I'm crazy when I say this. Can you see it though? The cursive G. Like if you like.
It looks like a Y.
Don't say that. You're
Oh,
confused. No,
I think it looks like a G. Oh my word.
It looks just like a G, doesn't it? Yeah, come with me, and it helps. Yes, that looks like a G. That's right. So that's gamma, and that gamma sounds like a G. It makes a G noise. I'm not going to make the class make these noises like B and G. Okay, that's just. But say the letter with me. Gamma.
Yeah.
Gamma. Okay. Get your mouth used to say it. G. Okay. Now, here's a little note for you, and this is in your notes. Two gammas together, like a g-g, they don't go g-g.
Good.
And Greek doesn't really double consonants. The neat thing about Greek is the way things are spelled is always the way that they sound. Except for like this, you know, when you get the gamma in there and combine it with hard letters, it likes to turn into an in sound. But English is worse. I'm telling you, English is way, 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 way worse as far as learning. Greek is very standard. But this is one of those little exceptional things. Two gammas together sound like unk. So, like for instance, angelos means angels. It's spelled not with a alpha and then the N and the G and the E. It's spelled with two G's. A-G-G-E-L-O-S. And those two G's together spell unk. Angelos. Now we're going to practice this a little bit, okay? But at random times during the day. But this is just something to look out for, because it'll trick you the first week or two. Okay, somebody read this.
Ah.
Ba. That's it. Good. You guessed it. So ba. You're already there. How about that? Bag. Okay. Or bog. Yeah. You could make it sound like bog. We're doing English words. Do you see what we're doing here? English words with Greek letters. I don't want to confuse you. We're not going to learn any Greek words yet. We're just going to try to read some English words in Greek letters for a little bit. How about that? Bag? Bang. Yeah, there we go. Good. So you understand how this works. Two G's together make a ung. I wasn't kidding, so that's why there's dialect there. It's just D, delta. And delta sounds like the dog. And you can see the resemblance with the English D, right? I know that some of these look loopy in weird ways, like this delta here loops around. But you look at that and you're thinking D, right? Now, as far as this triangular shape, delta, that doesn't really look like a D a whole lot. But you can handle it, right?
So you don't want me to say, I think that looks like a triangle.
Yeah.
You don't want me
You could do that. You could do that. You'll get away with things like that the first couple of weeks. If 5 weeks in you're still saying, what is that triangle thing? Well, we're videotaping it, so you can just go back and rewatch it. So, now what does that look like to you?
Looks like
E.
An E? Good. What does that look like to you, Donna?
An E.
Yeah, an E, okay, good. That's epsilon.
Looks like a backwards 3.
A backwards 3, that's right. This table we're going to have to break up.
Yeah.
It is an E, it's an epsilon. And it makes the eh sound, like edge. And that's why I said when you're spelling out beta, you're not using this. It would sound like beta. So we'll get to the A sound later. But edge, and it looks like an E, or a 3. But often 3s are used as E's.
Is the thickness, the specific thickness in areas important?
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
In fact, just as an example of, I've written Greek many times. I've been to conferences where eggheads were writing in Greek and junk like that. And I mean, written Greek, just like written English, it's not like persnickety, where you got to make it just so. It has to be understandable. And so, you know, let's say I want to spell delta. I'm going, you know, like, it's not, it doesn't look as fancy, right?
Okay.
I'm going gamma. And I'll leave these up here because we're still learning that letter, and that one here in a minute. But it's not as fancy. So you're going to have to recognize it in different fonts. In your own handwriting, you'll be surprised that your handwriting is going to look different from somebody else's handwriting. And that's fine. You're an individual. So don't force it upon yourself. Ancient Greeks, when they're writing these manuscripts, they all had different handwriting too. That's a very good question, Don. I'm glad you asked it. No, the thickness is not important. Just write it out with a simple
Sitting
line.
here trying to make
So if you want to make an eta, I would start at the top like I would with the E and just go like that. Does that make sense? I wouldn't always have that loop in the middle.
Is that an epsilon or an A?
Epsilon, I'm sorry,
Just
epsilon.
curious.
You're right. So let's practice a little bit. What's that spell?
Bang.
Bob.
Bad?
Bob.
Bod?
G.
It would probably spell bad, but bad is like British pronunciation for bad, right? So there's bad. A bad guy. How about that? Bed. Everybody agree that's bed? Okay, good. How about that?
Bad, bad.
Bad bed, yes, that's right. So if you're tired today, maybe that's the reason. You might have a bad bed. Let's learn some more letters. This one's a hard one. Now, the Z looks like a Z, but this other one, you go, what does that look like? It looks like something weird, doesn't it? It's like somebody took an S and like made a stretchy balloon out of it, you know, like tried to make a swan. But this is zeta. And now, here's another one where people might think I'm a little crazy. I almost think our cursive Z has a resemblance. Here's a little something. I can't make a cursive Z in English. I would much rather make this, okay? And to make this, you gotta just sort of have the long neck there. There's a loop at the top, and the essential components of it are the loopy at the top, long neck, and bring it around. Your line will be right there.
Oh, it goes up and above.
So it kind of goes under the line.
Does it go above and below the line?
It goes above and below the line. Now you'll get used to seeing this, but your line here is at the bottom of the uppercase. So pretty much anywhere at the lower where it kind of evens out, that's your line will be right around there somewhere. Now it's just as with English, you have different parts over the line. Like when I make a Q, sometimes like half the loop is under the line. You know what I mean? It's some of you are like some of you are a little more careful about these things. And it would drive you crazy to make an English letter that some of is wrongly placed next to the line because you're very particular. I'm not. I don't necessarily want to teach you to be particular. If you are particular, then go ahead and be particular. That's fine. But this is zeta. Can you say it with me?
Zeta.
Zeta. Good. What do you think this is?
An H or an A.
That's almost what it looks like, doesn't it? It's not. This is eta. This is eta. Now this is one of those ones. Now you're getting to where your brain is going to go. Why? Why is this eta? You're gonna have to learn this one because it doesn't look like anything that I know of in English. I have no memory tools for you to work with. It's just eta, and it is what it is, and we'll just put up with it. All right? We'll let them. Yes. Oh.
Does that go above and below the line then too? Is that end below the line then? I mean.
Yes, your
the
line
tail,
will be
yeah.
right about there. This
Okay.
this
Yeah.
first incline will be starting at your line, and then it'll go under. So this goes underneath.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there more Greek letters than the English letters?
I don't even remember how many English letters there are. What do we got? 26. There's less. So yeah, that's a good question. Eta. Yes, Jay.
I'm just thinking this, between the alpha and the eta, is that like sort of the short, the alpha's the short and the eta's the long?
Yes, this is if you're like learning it in English, they might put a little like loopy on top of the A and go ah, looks like horns on a bull almost.
Now that would be on the alpha, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the eta would be the straight line, the long pronunciation.
Yeah, they're in English. Now, here's something to look out for though, is that in Greek, the epsilon and the eta are more related to one another. So these two are friends in a way. So when your book here, your grammar book that you're going to be looking at later and using as kind of a reference this week, when it puts the eta into English letters, it will do it this way, Jay. It will make an E and put the line over the E to make an eta, instead of doing it over the A. It won't do that. It'll put it over the E. So that'll be how he writes eta, if I'm not mistaken. So it's that's kind of common practice. That's the way most transliterations of the eta work in commentaries or wherever. But we're just going to learn eta makes the A sound. So let's say eta and then let's go A. All right, eta, A. You notice the correspondence between the names of the letters and how they sound? That's helpful. And the truth is that I'd rather you learn how the letter sounds than learn the name of it. We're just learning the names of them because it helps you get oriented in the world of the letters. But if you can't remember what this is called, but you remember it goes A, then that's better than saying that's an eta, I just can't remember how it sounds. You know, that's not very useful. So we're going for utilitarian usage here. That eta sounds like A in face. Let's do a little practice. What's that sound like? Days? Okay, good. Yes. Days. I could have put a picture of some of you when you woke up this morning, but that wasn't available. How about this? So notice I got tricky here. A lot of new letters there for you. Zigzag. Yes, that's right. Good. Now, could you do that an hour ago? Could you read this? Now, how can you do it now?
Because you're a good
We didn't get the id yet.
We didn't get the it. You kind of had to guess that one,
Yeah.
didn't you? You had to guess the zig, the it. Now, what about this one? Just any guesses on this one?
Theta.
Theta, yeah, that's right. Theta is an important letter because you can't spell God without it. Theos is God, and to spell God, you need a theta. So this is an important one to. In fact, when if you were to go to seminary, you know, and they're in a hurry trying to teach you as much stuff as they can real quick, so the guy runs over to class or to the chalkboard and he's writing, and he wants to abbreviate God. He's not going to write G. He's going to write that real quick. And everybody just kind of has to know that shorthand for God. Just so you know. So if you're looking for a shorthand for God, you're writing stuff out, just make that. Make an O and put a line in the middle. Theos.
And the capital theta, is that, do we need to put an I in the middle, or is it like a squiggly line, or what?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
As long as
Just
there's a,
it doesn't touch the sides.
it can touch the sides even. Yeah, but that's, if you make it this way, without making it big and then the large in the middle, you know, if you just go like this, here, I'll come over here. If you kind of like make a big, fuller circle, you know, and just go like that, then people will get it. Or if you want to make the horns on the side, that's fine too. But you get, it's still the same, right? You can kind of tell that it's a similar, you know, it's going to be a little, I know that looks like a bunch of junk, but basically you get the idea. It's a circle of some shape, of some sort of a circle or oval with a line in the middle will be your theta. So that's like a perfect theta right there. But if you're writing it, it's going to be a little different. So that's theta. That's why we have the word theology, you know. Theos means God. Logos is word. And so theology is a word about God, basically, if you want to get down to brass tacks. So you got to learn that one. Now this one you guessed already when we did zigzag. And it looks like an I. There's another vowel you don't have to buy. It's iota. Or if you say it fast, it's iota, you know? Iota. Yoda, yeah, that's what it sounds like, doesn't it? Iota. And it makes that long I sound like machine. E. That's why we say iota. Iota. And, you know, we hear people say, I don't care one iota about that. Well, that's English. That's proper English, because if you say I don't care one iota about that, people look at you like you have three heads. Like, why did you say it that way? So you continue to say, I don't care one iota about that. That's what this is. It's a little, I don't care this much, right? But when you're going Greek, you say e, machine, iota. Don't put a dot on it though. Now that's going to be a temptation, but it doesn't have a dot. If you put a dot on top, then you might just confuse yourself. So leave the dot off. I don't know where our dot came from, because you realize English is later than Greek, right? So we added the dot. Why did we add a dot?
Maybe
Like,
pen drop.
maybe the pen, yeah.
On the J too.
Some celebrity, like, oh, that's how he's making his eyes now. He has a dot. Let's all use dots. Now, here's a little bit of review then. So this one has some tricky stuff in it.
Thing.
Thing. Why isn't it thing?
Because it has the double gamma.
Yes, that's right. So it spells thing. And I can't remember what. Oh yeah, I can't remember what picture I used. This is from a Dr. Seuss book. If you don't know, Thing 1 and Thing 2. So thing. How about that?
Back.
That. Yes. Good. You're picking it up fast. Picking it up fast. What does that look like? K. And you're right. It's a kappa, and it's going to make a K sound. So let's all say kappa together. Kappa. All right. Good. And it makes your K sound. there's not much else to say about it. Because it looks like a K, it sounds like a K. It's called kappa. So, I think we can handle that, right? This one, though, on the other hand, is, it's not a freebie. You gotta learn this one. This is lambda. What is it?
It kind of looks like a Spartan, like what's on the Spartan shields.
Oh, really? Okay, well, we'll have to look into that and see what that's all about. Lambda, you know, you'll hear, like Jay was saying, you hear like sororities or fraternities or things like that. They use all capitals. Now, we'll run into fewer capitals when we're using the stuff. That's why I say learn your lowercase. So if you were in a fraternity or whatever, you know, you might remember these. But lambda is one that gets often used. You know, you hear lambda and it kind of sticks out in your head when you hear it. But it's now this one is it's a little loopy in this font. Let me make a lambda for you that's a little less fancy, just so you can see what the essential shape of lambda is. Without all the excessive, I mean, this is sort of fancy writing because it's formal, it's on a screen. But a basic lambda, that's all there is to it. You make a line and you make another line, like lean to. La. So that's that. That's the essentials of that shape. Yes?
When you do the uppercase lambda,
Mm-hmm.
does it have to have the little feet on the bottom?
It doesn't have to have the feet, no. That's the way it is with any of these letters. I've learned a few different sorts of alphabets, and they always have like the formal presentation in the font. And for instance, in the manuscripts, if they had a lot of money, they would write them fancy. So they would look more like this with a professional scribe. They might draw little pictures, and, you know. But people just writing, your everyday person writing, you know, you're doing a lambda like that. I mean, it's just, that's all there is to it. You don't have time to go, ooh, little eyes, little eyes, you know, you just, that, right? And then what is it now? Delta, that's right. Okay. This one is another one you have to learn, but the capital letter will tip you up, but Mr. Capital won't be there the whole time. Most of the time, little lowercase is going to be the one you meet, so you've got to learn to see him on his own. That's moo. The Cal says, all right, that's moo, as in movie, and the capital looks like M, but you got to learn this lowercase on your own. The only thing, you know, I've looked at all these letters and I thought, what can I do to help people learn these letters better? You know, and the best thing I can come up with, and this will maybe confuse you worse, but if it helps you, when I write a moo, it's almost like if you turn it upside down, that's a moo, and it's almost like we then evolved that later and took that line that goes straight up and said, you know, let's just make it go down. We bent it down and flipped it around. You know? That's not going to help you because every time you see one, you don't need to go through this process. Like, okay, if I turn that around, oh, that's not even the right letter, you know, so you're, you're wasting so much time. So just learn it. Okay, that's moo. And I think that's how it developed, though. And you'd be surprised how many times alphabets flip over and stretch out. It's crazy. But don't worry about that. All right, what is this? We've got new letters in here. Okay. Clam. Clam. Yeah. Does that make sense? Ka, la, a, clam. Clam. We'll say clam. How about this? Math. So, you got these. This is challenging. You're first looking at these. You're going, what is that and what is that? But that's it. Good. Now we're getting near the end. So if you're still holding on, you're getting near the end of your alphabet. But we have like about four mind warping letters in there that are, you know, they're just gonna not be friendly at all. So just hang in there. This is one of them. This is not a V. This is an N. Capital looks like the English N, but you'll need to learn the lowercase. And I don't know how many students that I had the last time around, this was 2 years ago now, and I didn't make a big enough deal about this new. And so 6 weeks in, you know, they're still reading that and going, va, oh wait, nah. And so I need to nip that in the bud right now. You know, this is not a V. It's not a V sound. Just get over that right away. You know, you'll break my heart if you keep saying V. So this is in your slide sheets, but V might give you problems. It's not a V. It's an N. You're going to be tempted to say V when you see it, but make up your mind now. I am not going to say V when I see that shape in a Greek word. Okay? Can we make up our minds right now? I'm preaching it. Okay? It's not a moral issue. It's not an ethical issue. It's not a big deal thing here on Sunday. But it's just going to help you out in the long run. Okay? So, what does that spell? Look at all those unusual letters. What does that spell? Who said that? Cass? Yes. Name. Na. That's your new. That's the new letter we just had in the last slide. Ada. A. Mu. Name. All right? It looks like it's
No, I
No.
didn't say it.
good.
I just said it looked like name.
It looks like that's what I thought I heard. Okay. Now this one, I mean, look at that. I mean, why in the
That
world?
is fancy.
Now, when you write it, it's not going to be that fancy. This is a xi. Makes a x noise. Now, here's a little thing for you. You're never going to see a K and an S together to spell ks. They have a letter for that. Okay, so you're not going to see a kappa and then the final, signal, which looks like an S. You're not going to see ks. You're always going to see this thing instead. That's ks.
So where does it go below the line? Where that right before the hook?
Yeah, right about there. You're getting it. So usually when it levels out, that's where you'll see the range.
This is like a capital E, but.
Uh-oh.
But not.
I think he doesn't like that one.
Yes, Christian?
The uppercase one, how would we make that in a non-form?
Yes, okay, that's a good question. We would pretty much just kind of do a line and a line and a...
Little one.
It almost looks like almost like a nothing thing, And the number of times you'll be writing that will probably be very few and far between, actually.
Oh, right, because you wouldn't start a word with,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the kind of blah, right?
Right. Yes.
It's interesting maybe I'm just making an assumption, but it looks like the lowercase letters are fancier than the uppercase letters, where in English, in cursive, the uppercase letters are fancier.
Yes.
than the lowercase.
And I think that has something to do with how the language developed, because the lowercase letters actually developed after the uppercase letters. So I think that they came along in a fancier time. So they had more time on their hands and more money to write fancy. So this is xi.
Oh, there.
Yeah, xi. And so, when you're writing Alexander, that's the kind of thing that'll come up. Some of these letters show up less frequently than others just because it's just like Scrabble, Some letters are worth more because they're rare. And this would be more of a high point Scrabble letter. But you still got to know. So let's do a little practice here. What's that? Axe. That's right. Good. You're coming right, or ox, yeah. We got to use our British accent a little bit here. Okay. You don't have to buy this vowel either. What does it look like? Oh, yes. That's exactly what it is. It's Omicron. You want to hold your mouth open a little more than you would when you're saying the English O. But I'll just give you a little tip on the letters. You want to distinguish your alpha from your omicron. O. But don't get so caught up in it. That's for your own good to help you distinguish the spellings of words. Because you have another letter that makes the straight out O. We'll get to alpha and omega. That's the omega is going to be your O sound. So I mean, if you have a way to kind of like make it shorter or something like that than the alpha. If not, if you can't distinguish that right now, that's fine. We're not learning necessarily to speak it, to be, you know, to order things off the menu or get a job in Greek. You will be reading it out loud, but you'll be able to do that if you and don't get hung up on some of these finer points. All right, just be able to say when you see that, go, oh, you know. Yes, Jay.
Can you say that word, the name again?
Omicron. Mm-hmm. I don't think this one ever shows up in like sororities or fraternities.
Does
it? Okay.
Yeah, Alpha Omicron Pi, I think, was a sorority.
Okay.
AOP.
All right, cool. Alpha Omicron Pi. So yeah, Omicron, and it looks like O, and it's going to sound pretty much like an O. And unlike in English, oh my goodness. We're going to take a break. That was my break reminder. Can we go like 3 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. When you come upon it, just make the O sound. And what I was going to say was, unlike English, where we have all different ways to make O's sound, you put 2 of them together, it goes ooh, and you put 3 of them together, and it goes ooh, you know. And you put an E at the end, and it goes O, and you put a, you know, all the O rules. You don't have to worry about that. It's going to sound the same. So let's practice just a little bit. What's that?
Oh.
Ox. Yeah, okay. Just make sure everybody's there. How about that?
Fox.
Fox. You're good.
Pie.
In our square, yes, pie. Now we're going to say P. And you say, that sounds funny, because I've always heard pie. But what's the English letter, the English word for P? Is P. Right? When you go H-I-J-K-L-M-N-O, pie. Well, this is just the same as English, okay? Lambda, mu, nu, omicron, pi. P. So, anyway, that's not really a big deal, because you're not living to pronounce the names. But it makes a P sound, as in pet. And it doesn't look like anything in English, so there's nothing to trip you up. And it kind of has a friendly little Stonehenge look about it, so I don't find it intimidating.
Just learning about the germs.
Pup.
So you're saying that if I want to say that letter, it's pie, not P?
P.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh, it is P, like as in.
But if you go to different, here's the thing, different places will teach it differently.
Okay.
So like if I go to a conference, for instance, and there's people from New Zealand, people from Spain, people from wherever, they'll talk about things in different, slightly different pronunciations. So you will hear people say pie, and that's fine. We're not here to like be all judgmental about different schools of thought. So let's practice. There's a couple of hard letters in this one. What is it? Map. Yes. How about this?
Yeah.
Nap.
Yes.
Nobody said vap.
That's all I know is it's not.
Good. That's right. That's all I know. That's right. If that's all you know, I'm still happy. If you know that's not a B,
The B is not a B.
then you can figure it out later. Just don't say B. Let's discourage it. All right. So that's nap. And some of us, you know, we wish we were right there right now with that little thing. This is not a P. This is row. Yeah.
That's just wrong.
Right. This, I told you there's a couple of evil ones in here, and this is this and the new, which isn't a V. It's a new. Nu and Rho are your 2 most evil letters because they want to trick you and make you think that they're V and P. This is not P. We already had a P, right? It was the pi, the P. This is Rho. Rho. So let's look at this real quick. When you see that shape, don't make the P sound. You're excused for the first week. After that, you will only drive your teacher crazy. And so if I run away, it's probably because you didn't stop. And you have to get another Greek teacher in here. They had to replace me because I couldn't take it. Everybody kept saying P when they saw this letter. I'm kidding, all right? So what does that say?
Remember.
Please remember, right? Good, good. We're almost done. We're almost done with our alphabet. Can you believe it? So this is sigma, and this one has two forms. Now you say, I don't like that. We don't do that in English. You're right. But I just want to tell you it could be a lot worse. In Hebrew, there are about 5 letters. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was too mathy. But there's about 5 letters that have final forms and in the middle of the word forms, like this. This is the middle of the word, or the beginning of the word, is this. That's your s. At the end, it looks like that. S. All right? And like I'm saying, in Hebrew, you see this with multiple letters. It's even worse in Arabic. In Arabic, you have an initial letter. If it begins a word, it's shaped one way. If it's in the middle of the word, it's shaped another way, so you'd have another slash. If it's at the end of the word, you'd have the slash. It's shaped a different way. And if it's standing alone, another slash. So there's 4 different forms to the letters. Yes?
Does it have to have a slash in it, or you're meaning that?
I'm just telling you, they're categorizing it. Right.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell you how much worse it could be. We only have one letter like this. And there's other languages that are even worse than that. All right? So just be thankful, count your lucky stars that there's only one letter that has the middle of the word form and an ending of the word form. So let's just play with this real quick. And let me write sigma, right? Oops. The marker's running out there. Sigmas. Yeah,
That's
sigmas.
not the middle of the word, that's the beginning of the word.
It's so anywhere besides the
I didn't
last
hear
letter.
that. Okay. All right.
Sorry. Anywhere besides the last letter, it's going to be shaped like that. Now, I think that I have a special theory. I can't prove it, but I think that's somehow related to our cursive S. But I can't prove it. So I think our cursive S somehow is related to this sigma thing.
Yeah, you know what?
Yes.
If you think of the way they tried to make us when we learned how to write that cursive S, remember that little tail at the top of that?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That's that. That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you ain't wrong.
So, and I can't remember how to write that, so maybe you could illustrate that on break here. Now this is T. This is a good break to have T because you've had all these hard letters, so T, tau is what it's called. But it's just T, right, Tommy, you know, that's your T voice. This is upsilon. You make sure oo noise. You don't put 2 O's together to make oo. And you want to go ooh, you just write a U shape. Now sometimes you're going to be confused here at the get-go by seeing your nu and your upsilon together because they both go down and come back up. But let me make an upsilon for you so you can kind of see. It doesn't need to be, I just kind of make it like that. Make a few so you can kind of see. Now that one's bad because I made a too pointy at the bottom. You want to keep it loopy, keep it circular at the bottom. A fluid shape down there. So you can distinguish it from your nu. These are your nus and these. And so upsilon is your oo noise, as in food. And you're not going to have a problem because most of the time you're not using uppercase. So, you know, this looks like a Y, but most of the time you're going to be using the lowercase, and so you're just going to be reading through, and you're going to say that looks like a U, and it's going to sound like a oo. You know? So it's not going to give you a whole lot of problems. Now, here's a little thing. When Greek words come into English, when Greek oos come into English, they come in as Ys. So we have hypodermic needle, or hypodermic needles. They're originally hypodermic needles, but they transliterated them the way that they changed the oo, hypodermic, to a Y, hypodermic. Is that confusing anybody? When you see a lot of Greek words translated into English, if there's a Y in it, it was originally a U. So that's something to look out for. let's practice. What is that? This has got some new letters here. It was to sound like ooh, but we're going to pretend like it's a for now.
Stump.
Stump, yes. How about that? Stamp.
Stop.
Stap?
Star.
Stop? Star.
Wow. Right.
My heart just sank.
It's like you said, spell stop, spell hop. What do you do? A green light.
That's right. That's right. It's like tricky. So there's the P and there's the R. All right. See what we did? Stump, stamp, star. But you're doing well. You're doing excellent. Now this one here is fee, and fee, fi, fo. You'll see it made this way, and you'll see it made the way that I have it on here, the different font, like that. So you'll see that both ways. But that's still fee, one way or the other. And so if you see two of them together, what would you say?
Fifi.
Fifi, that's right. So that's what that is up there on the board.
Poodle.
That's right. So on the board you see Fifi. And Fi, or Fi, some people will say, makes the F sound. They don't make the F sound by putting a P and an H together like we do. You know, somehow we decided it would be a good idea to go ha-ha and make ha-ha go fa. You know how we make phosphorus or whatever. Phil, you know, Philip. You know, for some reason that turned into our F sound. But it's to do that, and now this would also be like the F, the letter F. But you'll find that a lot of the, like the word Philip. Philip is a Greek name. And when we write it out, phosphorus is also one. We write PH. Now, why is that?
Well, pH used to be a thorn, which was another name.
You're right. Good, we should talk about that later. We have a linguist among us, so that helps. Now this is C, or key, sorry. Key. We already did C. And this is like the sound in like Loch Ness Monster, or like Johann Sebastian Bach Ness Monster. That doesn't exist. This is not a culture class, all right? Bach. And so it looks like an X, but you pronounce it more like a K. And so, you know, you don't have to like slobber or anything like that. But if you do, everybody will understand. You're just speaking Greek. That's fine. Now here's a little tidbit about that. Is often enough you'll see something on like boxes. People are in a hurry or something like that, and they'll write this.
Xmas, Christmas.
Yeah. Now where do you think that came from? Did that come from pagans who hate Jesus?
I always
No.
said that you do it that way, you're taking Christ out of it.
No. In fact, this is a very ancient abbreviation. They put a line over the top to let you know it's an abbreviation, and this has been around for probably 1,500 plus years. So Xmas is actually just an abbreviation for Christmas, and this is how you spell Christ's name, Christos. Isn't that interesting? So there you go.
Wait, how do you spell Christ's name?
Okay. Let's spell Christ. We do have all the letters we need to spell Christ. So let's do that real quick. This is your key. What's that?
R.
That's an R.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a sigma. You'd say that's an O, but I did a line out. That's a sigma. Where is? I better get over here so my writing doesn't go downhill.
Now,
And
Blood
wow.
you did the sigma, that first sigma. I thought you said like that's the beginning.
The beginning or middle of a word will
Oh,
be.
okay.
So in fact, in those two, in the word Christos, you get both
Okay.
You get
so
both
middle.
kinds of S,
Okay.
both kinds of sigma.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting? So that spells Christos, or Christ. That's the Greek word for Messiah. It's not a proper name. His name wasn't Jesus Christ, like in his mailing address. His name would have been Jesus Bar Joseph, you know.
How does that sound? How does that sound?
Christos.
Christos?
Christos, yeah. Now, when they would abbreviate that, let's do another abbreviation. They would often abbreviate it that way in manuscripts because they're in a hurry or they're trying to save space, or they would do it like this. So, I might have just helped clear up a mystery for you. Yeah?
Tail of the G, is it supposed to be a little bit longer?
Of the which?
The tail of the G, the one that's
Oh.
diagonal?
It's just how I do it.
Alright. I was just wondering if
Yeah,
there was
that's-
something I missed in.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Oh, key.
Oh,
the key, yeah.
Not like Bach.
But yeah, that's just kind of how I've developed my handwriting over time. But yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. So let's practice this one. A couple of letters we've just learned. This one's, your brain's getting tired right now. It's like you're slogging along a little bit now, right?
Found on the road.
You guessed it, yes. You're not a Ford guy, I got it.
No, actually, I
You're
just
fine.
remember that. I'm okay. I know Ford wannabe anyway.
Okay.
I'm Mazda.
Ford. F, up, or, down. So there's an old Ranger. Some of you remember those.
Oh.
And there we have it. The letter I just, are very similar to some things we put up on the board.
Christmas.
Christmas. The Mass of the Christ. Now, in the Greek Orthodox Church, they don't call it Christmas, because that's kind of a Roman Catholic holiday. And your Orthodox Church isn't really, you know, desirous to follow the things they've done there, developed differently. They call it Christogeno. Genos is the birth or the descendancy of, so the birth of Christ. So I'm sure they do Mass-like things, but they don't call it Christmas. You recognize that all of our Christian holidays are Catholic developments. So the Bible never says you have to celebrate Christmas. People like get all in a huff about Christmas, you know. I don't. I'm like, where did it come from anyway? You know, that's kind of my thing. Like, how did we start doing this?
December 31st, yeah.
It's, yeah, I mean, but anyway, I like Christmas, don't get me wrong. I think it's fun, you know, but it's nowhere mandated in the Bible to do that. So here's Bach. I already used Bach. That's how I would spell him. My favorite composer.
Oh.
Now this looks like something King Triton would hold, doesn't it? Yeah, right. C. Or Psi.
Like Poseidon.
Now this is another one. That's right, Poseidon.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, Poseidon.
Very good.
Is
So
it
Poseidon would hold a C. Or Poseidon.
not C, but C?
Well, you could go ps, because it's a P and an S together. You know how we did the K and the S together to make a x? Let me just draw that again to remind you. We have these combo letters that just save time as long as you remember them. So we had this, which equaled C equals you can tell it's a plus sign. Okay, that's pi or p plus sigma. And so you have a letter for that. And you just kind of have to learn that one too. So you can see where you're going to have to review or, this week are those letters that don't remind you of anything so much. And as you're reading through a word, the ones that kind of trip you up a little more. And here we are at the last letter of the Greek alphabet. Praise be, right? This is omega. We've gone from alpha to omega. Yeah. That's that O. You'll get so used to seeing this. And before long, you're just going to look at that and say, omega. That's it. That's what it is. And so let's do a couple practices here. What does that spell?
Pogo.
Pogo! Yes!
I cheated. I just wanted to shout it out.
Oh, you cheated.
I totally cheated.
Close your book. That's
it was
fine.
supposed to be a joke.
You did a good job. Good cheating.
I wanted to try what it. I
Good
wanted
cheating,
to feel
Donna.
like what it felt like to be Cassie.
I was almost there. I didn't know what
How about the two, and then we got the thing at the end. What's this?
Tulip.
Tulip. Tulip. Or tulips.
Oh.
Yeah. I did this because I got this pogo picture and I looked and there's a little tulip in the bottom. I thought,
Aw.
you know, that reminds me of something that could help us do the C sound, you know? So there we go, tulips. Tulips.
See, and if I had tried to cheat, I was gonna say roses.
Uh-huh.
The PS thing has nothing to do with pluralization, that's just
Got it.
English.
Well,
Yes.
people looking at things.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't pluralize. It could be like Poseidon, like you were saying. It could be at the beginning. Just any sound.
Would you use it like if you're trying to write out psychic?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
would.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, psychic. Yeah, a lot of our like weird
Yeah.
Greek psychology. Yeah.
Okay.
Things like that. Except for it would be psychology, because remember that Y
Yeah.
in English is often enough a U in Greek. So psychology. The psyche is the suffix. Yeah, very good. So here we have just to review our vowels. In English you have a E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And how do you know when Y is or isn't? There's rules for that. Well, the vowels in Greek are always vowels. You don't have to worry about anything funny here. It's alpha, epsilon, eta. Well, I'll let you guys do it. Can you say these with me? Alpha, epsilon, eta, iota, omicron, oopsie daisy, upsilon, that's right. Omega. All right, very good. You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Just real quick. Alpha, epsilon, eta, iota, omicron, upsilon, omega. Okay, and these make the sound A, F, A, E, O, U, O.
What's that, what's it, omicron?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's kind of an open, and so you're going to have to find your happy medium to distinguish alpha from omicron from omega. Ow. There's a lot of room in there between those sounds, right? We start over here. Ow. Wow. Your lips move open and shut to do those things. So you'll find a way to do that. I don't want to do that too much because that's just ridiculous. But diphthongs is a. Oh, did you have a question?
Yes, you're filming this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would we be able to have a copy of it so we can listen to the lesson?
I'll do my best, yes. Now, diphthongs is a perfect example of a Greek word. I've kind of put it here in small letters to remind myself to tell you this. But diphthongs just means di is two, and thongs is components together here. And so that's how you would spell diphthong in Greek. It's not diphthong, diphthong, because it's two gammas together, remember? That's the reason I've given you another double gamma practice. That's the only reason I'm pointing this out. And your diphthongs are pretty simple because they work like they do in English. When you see alpha and a iota together, if you run them together, this will just kind of happen naturally. I, it'll turn into an I noise, like I. So if you just sound it out, it'll turn into a diphthong all of its own. That's the same with all of these. So I sounds like I. Maybe do that real quick. Let's go I. I. Does that make sense? It just kind of happens. E turns into A. So say E, and then run it together as fast as you can. E, A. Hear that? And it sounds a lot like eta, doesn't it? A, A. So you won't really distinguish between A and Ada, but you'll just get used to seeing these. Oi. If you go O, E, and you say them together real quickly, they turn into Oi. You just can't help it. The diphthongs just kind of make sense on their own, in other words. Oi, oi. Oi, like sweet. Oi, sweet. You know? So that's diphthong there. Ow. Ever heard of Faust, the guy who sold his soul to the devil? That's really the best word I could come up with for ow. That has an actual A and a U in it. Faust. So ow, ow, ow. Ew. 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 I mean, if you say E and U together, that just turns into ew. And then there's one more. Oh, oh. Turns into ooh. So, let's do this last one, just make sure you're still with me. Oh, ooh, oh. Does that make sense? Any questions on the diphthongs?
How many of them do you have? Just those, or is there many?
Basically those. Yeah, there's a couple of other ones that you'll like rarely ever see. And they also make sense.
What is the diphthong?
It's just two vowels together.
Oh, just two vowels.
The two vowels together make these noises, make these sounds. And like I said, they kind of just happen on their own when you say them out loud. One more thing to throw at you as far as the alphabet. Did you notice that there was no H? It's like that person that if they don't show up, you knew somebody was missing, but you couldn't put your finger on it. Well, H is the same way. H didn't come to the party, and everybody's like, well, I think everybody was there. I don't know. I'm so confused because there are all these other letters flying around. I've lost track. Well, H, you got to have an H, but you don't have a letter for that. H, the H noise will only ever appear at the beginning of a word. So you won't have like an H showing up in the middle like we have in so many English words, like Ohio, or things like that, Oklahoma, We don't have H's in the middle like Greek. You're only going to have it at the beginning, like Homer, the poet, things like that. So the way that you'd say H or not H, you always have to tell us whether there's going to be an H or a not H at the beginning of a word that starts with a vowel. If it starts with a vowel, the logical question is this, like with Omicron, is this Omicron or Omicron? Is this iota or hiota? And so each time you see a vowel beginning a letter, or a vowel beginning a word, you're going to see it designated in writing, whether that is an H plus a vowel or a not H plus a vowel, in which case you just read it as it's written. And so the way this is done is with something that looks like a comma, or an apostrophe, it's up on top. And to make you can see right here, I have it on the chart, to make an H, it's what they call a rough breathing mark. And you make it by going like, I'll make it big, going like this. The dot will be on the inside. This you have to learn. So this equals, like, let's put it over top of a letter. So this would be ho. However, this here, if the dot is on the other side, facing away, that would just be plain old O. Now you say, I don't like this. That's fine, you'll get used to it. And I really can't help it. We got to have H's or not H's. So this right here, can you see? You'll get used to your eyes right now. You're looking at this going, that's so tiny. How can I? Your eyes will adjust to seeing this. Believe me. So this spells hagios, and that just means holy. Hagios means holy in Greek. And that little comma there is how you know that's an H. I don't know if you can see that over there. That little comma there, that little rough breathing mark with the bulk of the dot on the inside. Hagios. However, Apostolos, the dot's facing the other way. Can you see that? And so apostolos is not hapostolos, it's apostolos, which means apostle. Simple. And it's called a smooth breathing mark, but you don't need to remember the terminology. You're not going to be, I'm not going to say, well, I might. Yes, Cassie.
Is there always going to be a mark on every vowel that's in the beginning of the word?
Yes, there will always be a vowel. But you don't need to remember, rough breathing or soft breathing mark. Just for now, remember this makes an H sound and this doesn't. And it's in your charts, and it'll be in your reading for the week, which is only about 10 pages, to help you review this. Yeah.
The mark over the O in apostolos, what does that signify?
That's just an emphasis mark. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but your eye picked up on that extra line in apostolos. That just tells you that's the syllable where you want to put the emphasis. So it's not apostolos, it's apostolos. And so we'll see that, and we'll get to that a little more. You'll see little extra lines showing up over, and that just tells you where to put the emphasis of the syllable. I mean the syllable.
Do they do that with all the words? Because that's really.
Yeah, it's meticulous, right? It's pretty meticulous sounding, right? To have an accent in every word.
Makes it easier to read, probably.
It does make it.
Like, especially out loud.
Yes, it does. It helps a lot. It's a helpful feature. So let's just, for the sake of review, sound out these words. And so I'd like to hear a lot of participation from if you figure it out. Just this is kind of like the reviews that we were doing, all right?
I had to start early, but I did get the.
You got it. What is it?
I think it's diamond.
Diamond. Yes. Good.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's do another one. There's no pictures with these, so you just.
I need longer.
Periscope.
Oh.
By the way, those two have a basis in Greek, in the original Greek words. So it's kind of cool, right? Peri is a Greek preposition that you learn. Not peri, no. Okay, so here's one. You've already seen this word, but can we have it again? Christmas. Christmas. List. Right. Oh, you know what? Find the error on this one, by the way.
The last letter.
The last letter. Yeah, that's right. Be my proofreader. Hmm?
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Genesis. Genesis. And that's where it comes from. It's a Greek word. Beginning. That's our Septuagint gave us our Bible names, by the way. They're not the original Hebrew names for our books.
Oh, is the error that it needed to use a different S?
It needed a different S on the end, yes. How did I let that slip by?
You wanted to.
Maybe it was a test. Yeah.
It was.
Pictures, yeah. I'm trying to get you just to sound out these letters. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm not trying to get you to learn new English words. Just sound out these letters and see if you can make an English word out of it.
That's it. That's an R. I mean, which word? Oh. I mean, what pictures? Oh, that's an S.
Well, that's a Z. That's a Z.
Oh,
Finger. Finger, yes.
Oh, really?
okay.
Now, why isn't that figure?
Yeah, because it's N.
It's NG, right? Finger. Good. That make sense? Any questions so far? All right, we're going to do some rough breathing mark versus smooth breathing mark. In other words, H or not H.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Hello. Remember, we covered this letter, but we had to do it pretty fast. It's a combination of two,
Easter?
something plus S. Let me give you a hint. Extra. Yeah, I didn't need to give you a hint. You got it. Extra. This is your X noise. Now, you're learning where you're going to need to review this week. That letter maybe, the Z. That one right there, the X. Mm-hmm.
Pray.
Yes. Yes, right. That one, I barely had it up. How about that? It's got a diphthong you have to sound out. Pray. Yeah. Again.
Oh, what was the one before that?
2 different ways.
So pray and pray.
Okay.
Pray without ceasing, right? Pray. Pray.
Great.
Okay, here's one.
Pen.
Pen. Okay. Not piv.
Not
I didn't really care what you did with the I. I just wanted to hear what you did with the last letter. Wanted to make sure it wasn't piv. Although it's probably a word I don't know. All right. There's another one where we're going to get confused on what. Hmm?
Emperor.
Emperor. Yeah.
But that.
Not impopop.
But, there's no breathing mark. Breathing mark.
There is no breathing mark.
Ooh.
You busted me. Which way should it be? Should it
It should be
be number
this
1
way.
or number 2 on the board?
This way. Number one. One.
Everybody says 1 and everybody is right.
Oh, it should be.
You can just go with the crowd in this class.
Now it's facing this way. Yes, if it's facing the other way, that way.
How about this? Numbers, right. Good. Nobody was saying va. That's good. But you can see how.
Bumbos.
Yeah, bumbos. Bumbos. Somebody. Bumbeps. Bumbeps. That's not bumbeps. It could be a Z. Yeah, that's right. This spells numbers.
Always.
Numbers.
Numbers.
Numbers. So, yeah. You're doing a very good job of sounding out the Greek letters with English words. Why don't I give you some real Greek words now to be your vocab? All right, your first, I think I counted right, 11 words. But I do this in a hurry, so, forgive me if there's a mistake every now and then. We'll catch it. But your first 11 words. Your first verb, I want you to learn is esten. Now you can see esten has the smooth breathing mark. And basically, if you want to say he is, she is, it is, you will say esten. Now I think there's other languages where it's very similar. Somebody maybe can tip me off.
In French and Spanish, it's Latin.
Yes. A star.
Etra and what is it?
A star.
Uh-huh.
Latin is
And Latin.
Est, yeah. So there's a lot of similarity between esten and some of the other languages, but if you don't have other languages down, then don't worry about it. And so, esten, there's our accent that says, let's put an emphasis on the last syllable, esten. And it just means he is, or she is, or it is. And it can go for any one of these things.
You mean it's not conjugated, it just is that?
This is a conjugated form. This is the third person, and we'll learn the fuller.
Okay, we don't have to, it's not the infinitive.
Yeah, well, that's not I am, that's not you are, but that's he is, or she is, or it is. We're going to start small for now.
And no infinitive.
It's not an infinitive. We'll get there. That would be a sty. But let's just start small. Esten. Now, what would this spell? Now, there's a squiggly line over top of this, and I need to explain that. Let me just spell it without the squiggly line at first. That squiggly line is not scary, it's just another accent. So let me just spell it up here. Well, how would you pronounce that? I heard somebody say something. It sounded ain. Did somebody say ain? I thought I heard ain. Did anybody say move? Because move wouldn't be right. This isn't a V. It's ain. Yeah, it's ain. A is Ada. So you just learned your alphabet, sort of. I mean, you're just learning it. You're learning it on the fly. So I don't expect you to why don't you know this, people? I'm pushing you because I want you to have a little excitement, Ain. Ain. Hmm? Ain?
Ain.
Ain, that's all there is to it. There ain't no more to it. All right, so, and that little squiggly line over top, that's just the accent. You'll see accents drawn like this, this, and this. Well, let me draw some letters here. Let's do ones. And don't worry about which ones show up where, but they look like that. If you see lines that look like a little curvy, loopy like that, you know, they've drawn them like this in our font. But these extra lines, don't get confused about those. We don't worry about those. If you see extra lines hanging around, just worry about the huh or the not huh. Okay, yes?
But the one syllable doesn't have the need for an accent, does it?
That's why I said don't worry about it.
Okay,
Okay?
we'll talk about that.
We can worry about that later, and it has to do with, is it next to other words? Okay? But you know what, if you don't want to worry about it, you don't ever have to worry about it, because you can do it without learning the accents. All right? So that's what I'm saying. Let's not, sometimes it's better just not to know what's out in the dark, right? So that's ain, and that means was. That's just the past tense of Eston. So he, she, or it was. So in John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word. And the word that it uses there for was is ain. N-R-K, in the beginning, ain, logos. And logos means word. So in the beginning, ain, logos. Ain is the word that we say for was. Okay, we've learned two. We're learning the third. Grapho. Grapho means I write. That's where our word graph comes from. It just comes from writing. So grapho, I'm graphoing on the board right now. I grapho as we speak. Grapho, I am writing, or I write. There's no distinguish between I am doing or I do in Greek. So I'm writing. As we speak, grapho. I am writing, or I write. Okay? What?
I write, therefore I am. And then Kathy looked at me like,
So it turned into a whole thing.
So you don't need the subject, or will we learn that?
We'll learn that soon. Today I just want you to get the alphabet, but some of these vocab words will kind of help you have more to grab onto. We'll learn how they work. We'll learn conjugations and declensions very soon. And if you don't know what those are, you will know. You will. You didn't think you could learn the alphabet so fast. So, you're going, well,
we officially learned it.
you've done
We're
great.
learning.
You have done great.
We're learning.
This is how you spell Jesus.
Oh.
And you put the little smooth breathing mark over the I. E. Yay. Now that's kind of a weird diphthong. It's really hard to do. It's hard to deal with. His name is hard to pronounce, sort of. Jesus. Jesus. It's not a diphthong you learn. You just kind of deal with it. Jesus. And that's Greek for Joshua. When people rename themselves in Greek, Joshua turned into Jesus. Jesus. And, yeah, isn't that interesting? So Jesus is just Joshua. Yeah, and there's a lot of symbolism there. Yes?
I just think this might be a little bit off the class, but it was sort of interesting. I had a sergeant, and his name was Jesus, and he spelled it like Jesus.
Yeah, okay. No, that's not off topic, because in Spanish, you know, Jesus or...
So anyway, I just thought it was interesting whenever you say Jesus, Jesus, and that reminded me of him. You know?
Yeah.
So I used to go around teasing him, saying to Jesus.
You'd say that's Jesus, right?
Jesus.
To Jesus. So that's that. That's an important one to learn, right? Because he's kind of one of the reasons why we're here. Now, logos. I mentioned this earlier in the beginning. Ain. What's ain mean? Was. That's right. Ain. The logos, or the logos. You'll hear people pronounce it differently depending on where they went to school and all this sort of stuff. But in the beginning was ein, the logos, which means word. It can mean idea. It can mean subject matter. So it doesn't just mean word, and we'll learn that later. So it's a profound little passage we're going to be working on a little bit through the. We're going to be looking at John 1:1 for a little while as one of our test cases. Another noun for you to learn is arche. Arche. Ever heard of an archaeologist? That's somebody who's digging through the ground to get to the beginning. And so that's where that old or beginning. Arche. And sometimes it could be used to describe a leader, which is like the beginning of the totem pole, almost. The arche, the arch enemy. You heard of that? Like the arch enemy? That's like the top enemy. It's from the Greek. That's where it comes from. A lot of our words you'll recognize as being Greek in origin. So, beginning. And then theos. What's theos? God. Let's do a preposition or two here. N. What does N sound like in English? It sounds like N, and that's exactly what it is. That's a freebie, isn't it? I don't think that's hard. N sounds like N, and it is N. Now, you're learning your alphabet today, so when you first see N, you're going, I have to process the little curly Q on top. Is that an H or not H, right? So it's not H. And then you have to look at the V shape and go, that's not a V, what is it? Okay, N. So that's the steps you're going through right now. But when you finally figure it out, it sounds like N, and that's what it is, N. So in RK, what would that mean? What would that signify? In the beginning. In the beginning, and they don't have the there. So you supply the. We'll learn how that works later. In the beginning. In the beginning, ein. What did I just say? In the beginning was. In RK, ein. In RK, ein, logos. Logos. What did I just say? In the beginning was the word. Yeah. Good. Now, pros means with. You're just going to have to learn this one. This is you're going to say, what's that second letter? That's not a P. P is the first letter. That's an R. And that last letter, you're going to say, is that a Z or is that a, what is that? You know, that's an S. You'll learn. You're drilling. We're drilling now with Greek letters, Greek words. Pros. I want to give you a conjunction because this will show up a lot. Kai. Kai just means and. Now that's weird, isn't it? You say, I don't like Kai being and. I wish it was something closer to and. Like when, you know? But it's not, it's Kai. And you just deal with Kai. Kai means and. So we do in, RK, ein, logos, in the beginning was the word. Kai, logos, ein, pros, and you change theos around a little bit, theon, and the word was with God. Kai, logos, ein, and the word was. Okay? I know that you're not going to, this isn't going to, you're going to walk out of here and say, I forgot everything he just said. You know, that's fine. We're drilling. And that's how drilling works. And you're going to practice a little bit this week, and you're going to come back and we'll do a lot of review. Let's do another word here. This is a case where you put, we hadn't talked about this, so this is a great little test case. You're going to say, what happens, John, if you put a rough breathing mark, the H sound, over top of a diphthong? Does it behave the same way? Yes, it does. It behaves the same way. It's still ha. You just put it on the second letter of the diphthong. That's all. So it won't show up on the O. It'll show up on the U. Here. And what's that squiggly line over top? Do you have to worry about that right now? No? Do I want you worrying about it? Absolutely not. That's just your accent. So hutas. Hutas means this. This. Hutas.
This.
Mm-hmm.
You got the H, wait, We're not worrying about the squiggly line?
Not worried about the squiggly, but you always want to worry about the comma. Look at the
Where
one-
am I not seeing the comma?
Ah, yes. The thing that, there's a little line on top of the comma looking thing.
Oh, so
Mhm.
that is the comma, the squiggly line is something else. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
Does anybody else have a question on that? I don't want to leave anybody in the dark.
Yes, I'm trying to pronounce it. It does say it's with the H in front of the U sound, right?
Mm-hmm. Hutas.
Okay, so mu,
Hutas.
hutas.
Yeah, you put the H sound right all the way at the beginning.
Okay,
So it's two letters together. They go oh, oh, and you've got to say ooh, but you put the H sound at the beginning of both of them. That's just a little rule there. When you see the rough breathing, the H sound over top of a diphthong, it'll show up on the second letter, but you pronounce it as if it's in front of the whole package. Hutas. All right? And so what we've done is we've basically learned most of what you need to read John 1 and 2. And I put that in your packet. NRK, in the beginning. You're not worrying about the squiggly lines or lines sticking down from the eta for now. NRK, ein, halogos, and the ha, by the way, just means the. That's where you get the the.
Oh.
Ha. It's, we say ha as an O with a rough breathing mark over top. See? So the. That's not really a vocab word yet, though. It's just NRK, ein, halogos. In the beginning was the word. Kai means what? And. Halogos. Ein means what? Was, with. This is God. Don't worry about the ton for now. Was with God. Kai theos. Kai and God. Translate that. And God was the Word. Now you're seeing where this gets different, right? You're saying in my English translation it says in the Word was God. Okay, so lesson 1, you're already seeing there's different stuff under the surface than your English translations give you. And God was the Word. And we'll make sense of this. There's profound stuff happening here, but we'll get to that later. And then hutas means what? Not that. This. This was in the beginning with, Ton, don't worry about that yet, God. This was in the beginning with God. All right, any questions that aren't too deep?
Is it theos or theos?
Theos.
Theos.
Theos, yeah. Or theos, theos.
Without breaking up, can you say that all in Greek?
NRK, ein, halogos, kai halogos, in proston theon. I can't do it from memory. Kai theos, ein, halogos, hutas, ein, NRK, proston theos. So that's, you'll get there. We want to strive for the ability to work with it to the best of our ability. So we're not going to do this slide because we have covered a lot of ground today. We'll bring this slide into next week. And this will get to more kind of like how you were asking about how do you conjugate the verbs and this. We'll get into that. So we'll go from grapho to being able to say grapho, graphes, graphe, graphomen, graphete, graphusi. And we'll learn this pattern that will be with us for the rest of the year. That'll say, I write, you write, he, she, it writes, we write, you all write, y'all, they write.
Y'all right.
O, ace, a, omen, et, usi. And you're going to learn that by heart. You'll be driving down the road going, grapho, graphes, graphe, grapho, graphe, you know, and like, you'll be doing your makeup in the mirror or whatever, and it's coming to your bed, you'll be falling asleep at night. And so we'll drill that. And so we'll learn how that works in these slides next week. For next week, don't worry about the practice. What we'll do is just some closing thoughts, okay? Ask yourself, do you know less Greek now than you did when you woke up this morning?
No.
No. Okay, then we were a success, right? The point was for you to come in here and not know less than you knew this morning. All right? So if you don't know less Greek than you knew this morning, then good. Second, don't worry if you don't remember all we talked about today. I would not expect you to. I know I seem like I expect you to, because that's just my demeanor. I don't expect you to. We will be reviewing a lot, and your home study will really help reinforce things that we only talked about today. I threw a lot of stuff out there, and you go home and you'll try to package it together in the way your brain works. So for next week, read our textbook, pages 1 through 11. And so you should have a textbook. Let me give you some worksheets too. And just have these ready to hand out. So I'm going to give you 4 at this table. And you can divide those out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give you 3 at this table.
We need one more something.
See, I don't know how to count. Which one do you need? This one?
Yes.
And I'll put the 3 over here. And if you see Noah and Kenny this week, tell them that I can help get him caught up.
We can actually take this stuff to him on our way home.
Oh, that'd be great.
Do you
Would
know
that
the
be
Mel May
helpful?
spell name?
What's that?
Do you know the Mel May spell name?
He was right here,
Okay.
right at
Like
5
by the
points
fire.
in Sellersville.
Okay.
In fact, if it was a ride issue, maybe we could
Work that out.
boom,
Yeah.
just
Could
go
you,
that way.
could you take this to him then if you see him and take this?
Yeah, you're right.
Now next week I'm hoping to have a couple of our former Greek students with us. They want to help be an encouragement to you during the year. So if you get discouraged or need somebody to talk to afterwards or whatever, then I'll have a teacher's assistant next week. My first year Greek students were my real guinea pigs as far as teaching Greek to lay folks in a church setting. And several of them did a fantastic job. Panky did wonderfully. Nicole, I think, did a great job. She's a very, very intentional learner. A man named Martin. And there's a couple other folks that are just too busy to join us that did well as well. But they just won't be able to be with us. So we'll have some company though. During the year, various folks will join us. So you'll have folks to talk to as far as like, you know, could you help explain it in your terms, or, you know, how did you work through this kind of thing? I think that's good. If you don't learn anything else this week, have your alphabet down cold. Okay? If you say, I don't remember the vocab, that's secondary, you know. That'd be nice if you could remember, but if you don't, just get those letters down. You've got to have those letters. You've got to be able to recognize what they sound like. Read through the sample words in the packet. There's about 5 or 6 great exercises in the book. While you're reading, he'll drill you. I love this grammar. It's the first year I've taught from this grammar, and I picked it on purpose because I think it does a great job of just really drilling you. And we're learning inductively, Pat. We're not giving all the charts out at the beginning. I'm mixing inductive plus deductive with this. So you'll get your charts as we go along, all right? And everybody will learn to work with charts. But we're getting a little more inductively, and we're kind of slinking through. Be ready for a short quiz on recognizing the words. Now, the reason why is because if you know your alphabet, then you'll be able to recognize some of the words, how they sound anyway, right? And you'll, even if you don't remember them cold, I'm not going to make it hard. It's not meant to be hard. It's just meant to kind of like give you something to, a goal to run towards. That's all this quiz is, all right? It's to say, I know there's a quiz waiting next week. So, you know, I feel like giving up here, but I'm going to run another extra few yards. It's an incentive, okay? And then it'll kind of measure how you lived up to that incentive. That is all the quiz is for next week, all right? It's just a motivational tool. And it'll work because quizzes are terrifying. And they always work. Yes?
Say the quiz was again?
On recognizing those first 11 words. And that'll be in your packet, in your handout. That's these. Let's just keep plugging and plugging and plugging. That's basically the words that you would use in John 1:1 and 1:2, plus a couple extra ones. So, Christian.
Will we have to know how they're pronounced or recognize how they're pronounced?
There won't be an audible part.
Okay. So you can if you can recognize